Hello to the 3 viewers currently. Right, let's change over. Transition. How's everybody doing? Tell me about your weekend. Natalie's just coming over. She's got some food. Actually, we've both got some food. It's delicious kung pao cauliflower that Natalie cooked a little while ago, and just reheated. Got some egg fried rice with it. Very nice. And where we're going today is to a dark place.
I feel like we should definitely give it a bit of time and wait for there to be more people in the chat before we start reading the chapter. Have you got the book?
So I'm just going to introduce.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. So today we're reading Jess Philips' book, Every Woman, which does not quite talk about every woman. We're reading a specific chapter because, for those who aren't familiar, Jess Philips is sort of from this centrist, right wing to some degree of the Labour Party, UK's left wing party, and she was like not an
I think it's not so much that she was like the right wing of the party, but she was anti-Corbyn. Like she.
Well, why would you be anti-Corbyn if it weren't for?
I think it's that the party itself and its history shifted pretty right-wing under Blair. So that was like the status quo for the party. There are much more right-wing people in Labour.
I don't mean to cast aspersions and call her generally right-wing. Right. But certainly during Corbyn's time, she was in the right wing of the party. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay. She was very critical of Corbyn. We'll cover some of the ways in which she was very critical of Corbyn as we read. She's mostly a bit of an embarrassing lib, TBH. She has been accused several times of being a massive fucking turf. She has defended recently Rosie Duffield, who is another Labour MP who has actually been openly being a massive fucking turf on Twitter.
Literally just repeating the stuff J.K. Rowling was saying the other day. So like,
yeah,
how can you pretend that that's innocently like stumbling into or something?
I have lodged a complaint with the Labour Party against Rosie Duffield. I encourage others to do the same. Her comments are pretty fucking disgusting. And then Jess Philips thought it was a good time to come up and say, yo, Rosie Duffield, not transphobic. Guess again, Jess, please. Okay. The chapter we want to read, because Jess Philips is a liberal, and liberals do not know how to meme. Every chapter in this book is called The Truth About Something, and the chapter we want to read is called The Truth About Trolling. And I'm going to be reading to Natalie because I've already read it. The right wing of the party while Corbyn was leader of the Labour Party, the right wing was smug, annoying liberals who liked the status quo and wanted to keep things in the centre and keep Labour on there, as I think H. Bomber Guy said, stick to their principles of not having any anymore.
Right. And nothing made them angrier than seeing people coming along and saying, we want stuff to be better, and then feeling like, well, so do we. Who do you think you are? Telling us that we don't want things to be better? Well, we shout at you and try and get you to stop trying to make things better?
The Liberals in the Labour Party who to a huge amount now Keir Starmer just represents. Yeah, as you're saying, want to believe they're the morally superior people in any conversation.
And they've been very used to being able to see themselves that way as liberals.
Yeah.
Throughout.
Mm-hmm. Let me change over to the close-up now.
But, half of them voted for the Iraq War. So, no.
More than half of them.
I don't know how quick the turnover of the MPs is.
Right, that's what I was going to say. Pretty much anyone who was working as an MP when the vote happened was voted for it.
Yeah.
You know who didn't? Jeremy Corbyn. Anyway. Hey, Hammy-Fly. I've changed over to the close-up. Let's begin.
Okay.
That's good. Okay. One woman's truth about speaking the truth. That's the tagline. So we're going straight to the truth about trolling. Oh, something to note was that Jess Philips has faced online harassment as any lib has from all sides. The left have harassed her as well for not understanding politics and not understanding the politics that her party is supposed to represent. And you can make your own judgments about whether that's just completely fucking fair. But one of the things just going straight in will be that she conflates this harassment from... Hey, Lorcan. This harassment that she's gotten from the left with harassment that she's gotten from...
Literally Sargon of Akkad.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with the gentleman Carl Benjamin, who made anti-rape threats by saying he wouldn't even rape several women in the public eye.
And Jess Philips.
Jess Philips included. She conflates that with the harassment that she's gotten from Corbyn supporters. She does some worse shit than that. Let's start reading the book, okay? Okay. Boo-doo-doo-doo. Okay. She's got a warning. It's kind of worded kind of strangely. Like it would just appear to be a content warning, but it's worded kind of strangely as if it might be meant to be read sarcastically. But just because it says, if you're offended by bad language, I'm just like, okay. But I'm sure, whatever. I think it's just a regular content warning because we all know online is cursed. Anyway. The warning says... Oh, no, sorry. It is sensitive. Here we go. Warning. The images and content you are about to see may cause some distress. If you're offended by bad language or graphic descriptions, you may want to look away now. These are the words that should appear on my phone, iPad, and inbox every morning. I want to give you, dear reader, the option to look away now, because I am about to talk about the very first time that I realized internet trolling and abuse was a thing. In the words of the great Will Smith, here is a story all about how my life got turned upside down. Think about Jess Philips is she's not just your MP, she's also your friend. She's also cool. She's very cool. It was about 11:30 p.m. the night before my younger son's 7th birthday. As usual, I had left present purchasing and wrapping until the last minute. I was sitting on the floor of my living room, surrounded by parcels from internet delivery sites, Mario Bros. Shiny wrapping paper, the arse ends of about 4 rolls of sellotape, and a pair of nail scissors. Noticing that one of the presents I had ordered was not amongst the loot, I picked up my iPad to check my order confirmation emails. The first email in my inbox appeared in the viewing pane. It was from a man called Declan, and it read, "Hi. Saw the case regarding what occurred in the Houses of Parliament. Read up on it in several forums, and I've seen some fairly disgusting things said against you. I've attached a screenshot of some examples that were retrieved from this thread." Why
would you send that straight to her? That's horrible.
Why would you do that?
What the fuck?
Like, it's like one thing to send someone, if you know someone, to send them like,
a warning or something, I guess.
Look at these dumb takes. Someone's having dumb takes about you. What she's been sent is like Nazis. In the mock-up of the forum, which is clearly Reddit should be destroyed. The first username is 14 words. It is distressing to me when liberals show that they can identify Nazis, because I'm like, wow, why don't you just do something then? And then there's just horrible abuse, rape threats, death threats, just really, really awful, horrible stuff. And I have no doubt it's recreated from what she was actually sent. I'd obviously read about internet trolling in the past. I was aware of the rape and death threats that had befallen my colleague Stella Creasy, the MP for Walthamstow, and the feminist campaigner Caroline Criado Perez, when they dared to demand that women should be represented on banknotes. The gammon class of the UK surely are the most easily offended of any people on the planet. You live in a country that invaded all but like 8 countries in the world. So you just come from just an insane level of privilege on the global scale, and then you're a middle-aged white man on top of that. A woman on the banknotes?
Did she make the banknote? No.
Did she make the bank? Why didn't she make the banker a sandwich? It is important to me to demonstrate that I agree with Jess Philips on some grounds, because I don't want her to ever see me criticizing her and think that I might be I'm a Nazi or something. We'll get to that.
Big risk.
Looking back, I suppose a part of me should have expected to receive similar treatment as any woman who speaks up. I'm sad to say now I do expect it, but then in the warmth and safety of my family home, the sudden brutality of the imagery about my rape and mutilation was utterly shocking.
Which is why you shouldn't just send that to someone's personal
email. Awful. This Declan guy is an asshole. Sorry.
You give them like an opt-in, like you share it with their staff or something.
Right.
Like, put some buffers up. Jesus.
I didn't feel scared. I didn't feel scared. I didn't feel that there was even the slightest chance that whoever Kakos Anthrope, that's the username, was, he, or possibly even she, was ever going to hurt me. I read the message out to my husband, who, as a veteran of the online gaming community, was thankfully immune to some of the brutal language used.
Oh my god.
The thing about Jess Philips is she's not just your MP, she's also your friend.
That's cute.
She's a cool MP.
Gamer husband.
Finally, representation among the Houses of Parliament. I, as a gamer, am finally represented by Jess Philips' husband. He assured me that it was just some lonely fool in his parents' basement, desperate to shock. He suggested that I send it to the police and pay it no more money. Okay. I mean, yeah. Yes, sorry. He's like completely immune, however, also call the cops.
But yeah, appropriate.
No, I agree, it's fine. It was just the wording of like, don't worry about it, just call the police.
I need more squash because this is spicy.
It is very spicy. Had anyone been a fly on the wall in my living room that night, I think they might have been shocked how calm our initial reaction was. I carried on wrapping presents and my husband went up to the kitchen to make me a cuppa. Just after midnight, I fired the email over to Stella Creasy and asked her what I should do about it. She responded immediately with a series of instructions about making referrals to stalking services and speaking to the police and the Sergeant-at-Arms responsible for the security at the House of Commons. Suddenly struck by the fact that a conversation about managing rape threats was occurring in the middle of the night between two women who had fought against the odds to get themselves to Parliament and used their position to speak up for women everywhere, I just need to pause on this single comma and say, Jess, please speak up for women everywhere, for every woman. I burst into inconsolable tears. My husband reappeared, tea in hand, shocked by my transformation from calm to hysterical in a matter of minutes. Through my sobs, I explained that I didn't think this stupid fool was going to hurt me. I was just sick and angry about how acceptable it still was to hate women. I felt so tired, so defeated. I thought about the efforts of the millions of other women who'd given their lives, their soul, so that women like me could have an equal voice. I felt grief for my dead mother's efforts throughout the 60s, 70s, and 80s. It felt as if she had wasted her time, that women who spoke up, women who achieved would always be hated, threatened, and attacked. I felt completely and utterly devastated. In the midst of my fit of despair, I thought of all the women I'd worked with who had been raped. I thought of all the times I'd advised women to go to the police and tell them what had happened, even though I knew deep down that most likely they would never get justice. I have seen many, many more victims be told that their perpetrator will face no further action than I have seen victims who got their day in court and a conviction to match their pain. I thought of all the advice I'd given out over the years about how we had to keep speaking up, keep telling our story even when it seemed hopeless. So I picked up my iPad, took a screenshot of what had been said about me, and posted it on Twitter. Oh jeez. I decided that even if this battle was going to be for nothing, I wanted to be a warrior, not a forgotten civilian. You got a really strong starting point, and then we're getting into how posting is a war. It is a real, actual battle, and we are in the trenches of the posting war. The reason I received this abuse was because of events in Parliament the previous week, when I had laughed during a session of the Backbench Business Committee. The Backbench Business Committee is a committee of MPs that gets to decide which debates should be given time in the House of Commons. It's a bit like Dragon's Den for MPs. Members come and ask if they can have debates on things ranging from peace talks in the Middle East to protecting ancient trees. On this particular day, Philip Davies MP said he wanted to hold a debate on International Men's Day, and added that he didn't feel that men had enough opportunities to speak up in Parliament. Again, I would like to
that laughter.
Point out whenever I agree with Jess Philips, which is plenty of the time, because Philip Davies is a fucking cretin and should be driven into the ground. Anyway, I had absolutely no problem with the debate being held, but I did have a problem with the idea that men are somehow marginalised at Westminster. Right. It is laughable. I commented that to me it seemed like every day was International Men's Day in Parliament. Bear in mind that I am the only woman on the Backbench Business Committee of 9 MPs. The makeup of the committee alone should have made him feel silly about his statement. Because I am a woman...
He's just looking.
Right. He's like, I just feel like women are taking over. I'm an adult virgin. Right. Because I'm a woman with a voice that cuts through, because I'm a woman who uses that voice at times to make feminist statements, apparently I deserve to be mutilated and raped. In 2016. Another email I received at the time read, I hope your sons end up hanging from a tree because of suicide, but even then you wouldn't be sad because they are male. Wow. I've never hurt anyone. I pay my taxes, support charities, help out in my local community, and bake cakes for school fairs. I try to be a decent sort, but no matter what I do, the fact that I'm a woman with an opinion is apparently worthy of a death sentence for both me and my children. I feel like this is really, worth... really worth noting this, all the lead-up stuff here, when explaining how people who are fooled by the gender critical movement into supporting transphobia view things. It is often people who are already outspoken feminists, and so they are used to just receiving a wall of shit on Twitter,
it's all the same thing.
And they just can't distinguish
and they're
at
not
all
seeing those specifically trans people receiving mountains of harassment every day, and being bullied off Twitter, and
right,
and also just in their regular lives struggling to exist.
Warning: the text you're about to read contains descriptions of male privilege. Readers may be appalled by the level of stupidity taking place on the computers and media devices that can be found in the modern home. Those who think sexism is dead and wish to continue to live in that blissful ignorance should look away now. Nice. Okay.
This was so spicy.
It is really spicy.
I swear it just got spicy.
I'm just having a little bit and then reading and then back and forth. Just to remind everyone what we're doing right now is we're reading Jess Philips' book Every Woman. Jess Philips is Sorry, I'll look at the cover again in a second. Jess Philips is a centrist / lib MP from the Labour Party. She was very critical of Jeremy Corbyn when he was leader. She's also been accused several times of being a TERF. As a lib and a feminist, I agree. She's telling a lot of stuff that I agree with already. Totally fine.
She has a background of good work with domestic violence and stuff.
Absolutely, it should all be acknowledged. There is some stuff in this chapter that is fucking atrocious, and I'm reading it to Natalie because I've already read it. And then after a break, we'll come back reading Reddit relationships posts, playing Lego Batman 3, and drinking some wine. Okay. So just skipping a little bit forward. They've decided that the way to fight for men's rights is to make memes of me and women like me bound and gagged. Move over the civil rights movement, Martin Luther King Jr. You got nothing on these meme masters. If only the suffragettes Gandhi or Aung San Suu Kyi had thought of mocking up karaoke videos about people they didn't like, the rights they struggle for would have been achieved in a jiffy. These men are not seeking men's rights. They just hate women and hate them hard. Then she details some horrible titles of YouTube videos. I'm going to skip over. Some of them contain slurs. But she just details searching herself on YouTube and the kind of stuff that comes up. Apparently I make good clickbait, so there are men on the internet who feed their families out of the spoils they get from abusing me. Right. We come around to Sargon of Akkad again. Literally Sargon of Akkad, yeah.
Literally feeding his children by abusing Jess Philips.
Yeah, it's nuts, right? Right. So then it gets up to sorry for skimming. I'm getting to the kind of the crux of why I wanted to read it. Then it carries on to detail that stuff that I mentioned before. Sargon's Carl Benjamin's non-rape threats, where he says that he wouldn't even rape someone as a way of clever, not making a rape threat, which is just the most infantile, the I'm not touching you of being gross scum. Good job, Carl. She details a whole bunch of that. She says
letting someone know that you could assault them is still a threat.
Of course it is. Of course it's the classic nice place you got here, shame if something happened. That's the format of the world's most famous threat. Okay. She does a kind of cute thing here with those tweets, which is she makes it into a Dr. Seuss-esque rhyme. See, she
found poetry.
Well, she just I just think it's a kind of cute thing I want to acknowledge. She says, a glance at my Twitter feed that day was a bit like reading a really sinister Dr. Seuss. I will not rape her on a plane. I will not rape her on a train. You get the gist. People often say to me, just block them and forget about them. I hope that this book actually turns out to contain the secrets that I need to deal with online. The trouble is that with so many messages coming in at once, you couldn't possibly block them all unless you employed teams of people to do it for you. From the time a dogpiling attack begins until it finishes, you cannot use social media because you are drowned out. It stops you from being able to communicate with anyone else and makes it impossible for people to contact you because you cannot see them amongst all the rape chatter. For the time you're being silenced. Eventually the storm dies down and only the last straggler is still going. Sad that they've missed the fun because they were on holiday in Nowheresville. Ooh, sick burn, Jess. Their holiday wasn't very good.
They were just getting mess.
Yeah. Owned. He's not just a gross misogynist who will make rape threats online. Also, his family holiday was to Slough. Okay. So, then she details Then she details being called a traitor, a scab, a neoliberal Zionist puppet of America. Cool. And she details... She says, I have been called a traitor, a scab, a neoliberal Zionist puppet of America. During the 2015 leadership campaign, I supported Yvette Cooper. That's the important sentence to hold on to for a second and go down to. This is when you realize the stuff online is not a joke. The first time it was done by a woman I actually know, a woman who's a friend of my best friend. With hindsight, she has all the hallmarks of the kind of person who would troll me about the Labour Party. As best as I can tell, she is an armchair activist, a warrior on social media. Out of nowhere, she sent me some smug Corbyn rally picture, specifically copying me into the tweet to have a pop at me. I can see no reason for her to send this other than to be divisive. From my perspective, she was basically shrieking, I'm right about the Labour Party, you're wrong, nah 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 nah.
From my perspective, she was basically shrieking. She was just kind of going, Ree!
Right. Okay, so this is something like... This is part of why I wanted to read out this chapter. A bunch of times, like, Jess Philips has been interviewed or whatever, and the stuff she says... Okay, I actually already mentioned a good example of this. Her saying that Rosie Duffield is not a transphobe after Rosie Duffield said that only women have cervixes, an inherently transphobic statement.
Her doing impressions of Diane Abbott, the, like, first black female MP... and laughing up with Tories. Gross.
So, now and then she does stuff that I think is absolutely fucking gross. And what I want to do is go and tag her. Apparently, if you tag her apropos of nothing, you are inherently abusing her. You can never be making a legitimate criticism. And if you are, your legitimate criticism boils down to, I'm right about the Labour Party, you're wrong, nah, 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 nah.
What's wrong with that also?
I want to interrupt this tale for an educational interlude on how not to behave on Twitter. If you're going to clutch your pearls about getting a cutting response from me, this is where we're about to enter, like...
True posting war.
We are about to enter, like, the serious posting war shit. This is what I think of as the, like, Sorkin phase of the chapter. Because it's just, like, everything said is going to now be with the underpinning, implicit, sometimes explicit statement that what she and her friends do online is fucking own people. With epic put-downs. And, like, all I can ever picture is, like, in this house, when the president stands, nobody sits. If you're going to clutch your pearls about getting a cutting response from me, can I politely suggest that you don't copy me into your bile in the first place? Don't talk about me and tag me in the comment and then get all outraged if I respond. If you want to have a discussion, no problem. I pride myself in being responsive to real debate online, even when I disagree with your views. Okay, I've just seen so many people tag her so many times, explaining how transphobia works, explaining how the gender critical movement fools people, explaining
sharing,
how
like,
TERFs
Kathleen
work.
Stock articles. She was sharing, like,
She's
Janice
just like,
Turner stuff, which is literally just propaganda against trans women. Like, the most vile shit, like, surely you recognise this from stuff said about, like, refugees and Muslims, because it's literally the exact same stuff. Like,
I was going to tell you about the front cover of the book. So there are 4 quotes on the front cover of the book, and they're all praising, absolutely glowing. The thing to understand about the media landscape of the UK is that we have garbage and slightly left garbage. The Guardian in particular has been notorious for platforming TERFs in the last few years. And so one of them is from
Not
The
just
Guardian.
platforming TERFs, but shutting down trans people.
But I just want to be fair.
Editorializing transphobia.
Having a quote from The Guardian reviewing your book is just a very normal thing to do.
Right.
But the other three are from The Spectator, which is a horrible racist ghoul shit rag. Just disgusting. Robert Webb, who did also unfortunately get tricked into buying into Graham Linehan's TERF bullshit, and J.K. Rowling. It's like...
Knock them down.
It's like not seeing the forest for the trees, but the trees are like red flags.
Said as one of the quotes from J.K. Rowling. Yes.
Okay. So... yeah, so it's just this thing, like, I pride myself on politely responding to real debate online, but I've just seen her receive so many tweets from so many people, and I've seen them, because that's the volume, and there are going to be so many more that I haven't seen, of people just politely telling her that she's sharing TERF rhetoric and that she should stop.
She's only engaged as far as to say, like, both sides stuff, like, everyone should calm down and we can have a nice conversation about it, and but she's platforming and sharing hateful transphobic propaganda that just doesn't line up with reality.
And for those who need an idea of like the climate of TERF bullshit in the UK, there's like
so specific.
There's like two or three places that all trans people in the UK need to go through to get their diagnoses and their treatment, and the Tavistock Centre is like one of them, and is like a massive focus of TERF ire recently. And TERFs have been, for example, spreading around this lie that 40 doctors quit the Tavistock Centre because they were uncomfortable with how it was transing kids all the time. And it's like, that is just wholly a lie. Some doctors have quit the Tavistock Centre because TERFs keep harassing them and they want to just move into easier careers that involve less abuse.
It's like, it's Tilla baby killer shit that they're pulling, honestly. Like,
right. Anyway. And that's the kind of shit that's going on. And it's like, I have seen people politely being like, Jess, don't share lies, please. Okay, anyway. Just a little tip. This is not how you want to start a discussion. Hey, look how great and right I am about everything. Yay me, I'm totes right, unlike at Jess Philips. Hashtag Jez we can. If you want a discussion, I suggest, hi at Jess Philips, I don't agree with you on X issue. I think Y. Any thoughts? Or alternatively, if you just want to slag me off, so you and your blinkered we are so right about everything mates can jerk off over it, here's my suggestion. Hey, look how great I am about everything. Yay me, I'm totes right, unlike Jess Philips. Hashtag Jez we can. The removal of the @ sign means you have just had an opinion. Having an opinion and loathing me are perfectly acceptable. Knock yourself out. You've essentially slagged someone off behind their back, and let's face it, who hasn't done that? When I say about moving into like the posting war phase of the chapter, like, she has gone from very serious abuse to now it's just that she finds leftists annoying because they have the moral high ground and she as a liberal is used to having the moral high ground. If someone has an ideology that says one homeless person is a devastating failure of society, Jeremy Corbyn, and you're used to having the moral high ground in any conversation because you're a liberal faced with conservatives every day, it is just like fight or flight terrifying to you. It is awful. It is just an abuse on your worldview. Anyway, if you tag me in the comment, you're just being a massive douche who in the offline brackets real world is the kind of coward who runs over and calls you a name and then runs off again. Anyway, back to the story, in which said tweeter had not followed the aforementioned advice and was an aforementioned name-calling douche. I responded, perhaps foolishly, with a comment about how mass rallies obsessed with an individual would do nothing for the people...
She's continuing with that story. That's a story? Is this white? Is this Bret Easton Ellis's Adventures of Middle-Aged Man on Twitter white?
Jess Philips MP yells at cloud.
I'm sure she's got much more interesting stories from arguing with her constituents.
This is some Grandpa Simpson shit. It's just like... And then...
She should try being a YouTuber. No, it's
I responded, perhaps foolishly, with a comment about how mass rallies obsessed with an individual would do nothing for the people in my constituency suffering the bedroom tax. This is not the only time this chapter will compare Jeremy Corbyn directly with Adolf Hitler. She then accused me of being a troll. I pointed out that it was not me who came out from under the bridge gritting my teeth, it was her. I was in fact on a holiday with my lovely family and lots of our lovely friends. This is one of the fallbacks that I find insufferable for the if Hillary won we'd be out at brunch crowd, is like, my life is good and relaxed and chill, and I'm having a good time, so just cry harder, you troll, when it's someone being like, healthcare, please, healthcare. Like, just somebody just going, please, for the love of God, just do something about all the Nazis all the time, and they're just going, you communist troll, fucking cry harder, cuck. And it's just like...
Isn't it wild as well how much you can just feel the bitterness at being left out of the popularity of Corbyn because he has basic minimum standards for how people should have to live.
I just think I really mean it, Alright.
What was that?
Get rid of that. Just needs getting rid of. Can't believe she was paid money to write this pablum. Right. Anyway.
There must have been funnier Twitter arguments even. Why is that going in a fucking book? Seriously.
Wild. Anyway. So, where are we up to? No, we're back here. Okay. Right, on holiday with my lovely family and lots of our lovely friends. I was not tweeting about politics. I was not inciting any attention.
Well, she was tweeting
I was
about
mainly
politics.
Eating baguettes and playing weird avant-garde lawn games.
But she was tweeting about politics.
Jess Philips isn't just your MP. She's also...
Your cool friend.
At the avant-garde of lawn games. She's a lawn gamer. Oh, Christ. Alright. Let me just go change my Twitch settings.
What is...
Thanks for handling this, Locan. I'll deal with it in a sec. Yeah, it's some chud raid.
Oh, shit.
Just an embarrassing dipshits.
That's actually loads of people. What the fuck?
Yeah, it's really weird. Alright.
Who's raiding then?
No idea. Okay.
Can you see who's raiding?
I'm just going to change it back to the 10-minute follow rule. Do. Sorry guys, I just got to take a closer look at the settings to sort this out. I'm gonna... Okay, back in a sec.
There we go.
There we go.
No new followers. No new followers.
Well, Lorcan's already banned the mass of them anyway. It's all chill, but like, dang, the worst. Anyway, back to the book. Blip, 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 blip. Here we go. Okay. Is that mine?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. When she accused me of being a troll, she wrote, nonsensical and profoundly desperate trolling from an MP who can't and won't grasp democracy in action. It literally is her feeling left out of like how popular Corbyn is.
Yeah,
like people are excited and energized about Corbyn.
Obviously this person is like bringing it all to her, so
oh,
she care,
sure.
like...
But like, yeah.
The fact that it made it into this book tells its own whole story.
It really kind of does. She copied me in a rabble-rousing left-wing She copied me in a rabble-rousing left-wing journalist as well, in the hope... Sorry, the grammar of the sentence is fucked. Anyway, in the hope, I assume... that he would follow suit and join in the attack. He didn't. She talked about me as a thing, a job role, a totally faceless nothing. Oh man, you know, poor MPs. Like MPs
she's having to explain why she's bothering to talk about this like one very minor interaction on Twitter.
MPs are like truly the most oppressed minority in the UK.
She talked about me like I was a thing.
She just called me an MP.
Not just an MP, you know.
Hey. I am a thing. Rather than a woman whose children she had played with or a person who had lent her my van so she could move office. She didn't think of our mutual friend having to see her slagging me off and how she might feel. The same friend who worries about me all the time because of the vitriol I face, more so than nearly anyone in my life. The woman who texts me saying, just wanted to check in and make sure you're okay. I've seen the hideousness online. Okay. I thought about responding with, look at this sad insert job title who knows nothing about courtesy or reality and is a massive cliche. But I didn't. Instead, I put it in my book because I know it would have been...
That is so much worse!
It would have been a hurtful thing to do.
No,
and to be so public about it would have been humiliating for her. So I put it in my book instead.
I'm sure they wouldn't have actually been deeply humiliated if you replied to them like that on Twitter. They've probably got slightly thicker skin if they went out of the way to like bully you.
They wanted to pick a fight with a lib. They knew you'd come back with something. So you could just do it. Alright. Also, some of the people who regularly wade in to defend me when fools attack me have millions of followers. So me using the same tactic of public shaming and dehumanizing would have been worse for her and would have prolonged the whole episode. Contrary to her assertions, this is just a lot like when Chapo read out articles from journalists who really feel like journalists are the most oppressed people on earth. It's like, okay, left-wing, like liberal MPs like Jess Philips, if she was like thrown in jail for being a feminist, it would be a very, very, very bad sign for our country. In the same way that if Guardian journalists were thrown in jail for being Guardian journalists, it would be a very, very bad sign for our country. But like, by that point, all the communists, all the union activists, all the disabled people, probably all the trans people would already be in jail for existing before it gets to the point of the journal. Like, the poem does not say first they came for the journalists, or the outspoken feminist MP who's just publishing one woman's truth. Okay.
Now she's just outlining that the only reason that she isn't just as petty and just as horrid as all the people who come at her on Twitter, all the like relatively normal people anyway, not the like anti-feminist freaks, is because she has more responsibility than them with her platform. Cool.
Matt McC1 said, bad sign for the country, good sign for the discourse. Contrary to her assertions, I try not to act like an internet troll. I wanted the whole thing to stop because, if I'm being completely honest,
I think she was
it really
like
upset
an
me.
internet troll when she was sharing articles fear-mongering about trans women being put in women's prisons. I think that was her acting like an internet troll.
I think I've encountered internet trolls on a daily basis who act like that, actually.
Stephen Crowder. Literally.
Sargon of Akkad, for that matter. Speaking of the people she's mentioning in this chapter on trolling.
Probably the same article.
Right. It really upset me. Not because I give a toss what she thinks. Not even me. Wait. Not because I give a toss what she thinks. No, I skipped the line up. Not even because I'd already had to make sure that our mutual friend was okay and not worrying. I was upset because I have become such fair game on the internet that people I bump into on the street have colleagues in common with, might have to share a wedding toast or two with over the years, think that trying to upset me is sport. I'm nothing more to these people than a target for hatred. Even people I've carried home in a cab drunk don't seem to remember that I am a person. They just see me as an MP, and that's horrible. The second time internet vitriol from my own party spread its nasty little wings down from the cloud and into my living room was thanks to a left-wing website seemingly set up to support Jeremy Corbyn's leadership bid, but dressing itself up as an unbiased and independent truth-speaking medium. At least the Daily Mail. At least the Daily Mail knows it is a rabid conservative mouthpiece. On 15th September 2016, the Conservative government released a statement detailing how they intended to U-turn on housing benefit caps for women in refuges and promised to create a future model for sustainable funding. This was something that I had campaigned on for months and months. Every time I got the opportunity to raise my voice on the issue, I did. I posed public questions directly to the Prime Minister, begging him to support refuges. I called for and took part in many debates, putting pressure on the government week in, week out. I worked with national and local charities across the country to write letters, sign petitions, tell their stories. I went on the telly, on the radio, and I wrote articles. Along with others, I screamed and shouted. I used my voice to fight for people without a voice. Again, cool, Jess. I wish you would listen when people tell you what is transphobic and what is not transphobic. All this campaigning power you could put behind yet another cause. It would be very cool. Anyway. Sorry, it's just tiring to me when I read this. Like, her extolling her own virtues about what an incredible feminist activist she is, I just constantly then think of, as you say, her sharing Kathleen Stock articles, her saying Rosie Duffield isn't transphobic when she and Rosie Duffield are both cis. It's just... That's all cool, Jess, but like there are valid criticisms that people have made, and you're just like, I engage with honest debate. When the government listened, I was elated, but what they offered was not perfect, but it was a damn sight better than what we'd had before. On that day, being an MP mattered. All the hours spent away from my family, from my own bed, all the crap that I had to put up with was worth it because I was part of a team that helped to change something. There had not been a day in Parliament when I have not fought hard for victims of domestic violence. One of my colleagues commented recently that since I have been in Westminster, the profile of violence against women has been elevated beyond recognition. We are not meant to blow our own trumpets, I know that, but sod it, I'm really proud of what I've done. Cool.
I think that's probably true,
and fair.
I was seeing people saying that Rosie Duffield sort of got a lot of attention for sharing her own story of domestic violence in the House of Commons as well, which is incredible, and it fucking sucks when those people turn around like...
Right.
Go out of their way to shit on trans people.
This was an example of the Labour Party doing a good thing. In the long summer of attrition that preceded this day, proud moments were few and far between. It was worth being happy about. But did the Labour Party leadership herald this success? Did they praise my work and that of others involved? No, they did not. Instead, my name appeared on a list of those who had abused Jeremy Corbyn. Dubbed a purge list by journalists, it appeared in most newspapers, which felt like an invitation for activists to come after me. It appeared to work.
Pause. Ari, purge lists. They were 2,000 votes away from winning the election in 2017. We would have had a Labour government right now during this pandemic.
By the way, the Labour government, while still under Corbyn, the Labour opposition, while still under Corbyn, were one of the only things that made the government implement anything useful at all in our pandemic response. And those things have since then quietly been removed by the Tories, and Keir Starmer has done nothing. Please carry on.
They were 2,000 votes away from winning the election in 2017. And they lost specifically because people within their own party redirected resources to safe seats of right-wing Labour MPs that they wanted away from the seats that would have fucking won them the election. It's disgusting, and that's why there were people saying, let's get rid of these people from the Labour Party because they are actively sabotaging it.
Yep.
Valid as hell in retrospect.
In retrospect, I have repeatedly said, while furiously mad, I say said, I mean I yelled, that Corbyn should have purged the right wing of the party repeatedly.
Which is exactly what Blair did when he got in. He
Blair just got rid of all the left wing.
Left wing, yeah.
And yet that wasn't criminal... Stalinist purge in the Labour Party. It was Blair shaking things up and innovating. Spring cleaning.
Jess Philips, I don't want to blow my own horn. Also, Jess Philips, why wasn't I praised by the party?
I mean, it's like the party doesn't have its own press outlet. She's referring to a website that, I mean, she hasn't said, but we're pretty sure what it is. A media outlet that she says...
Does she not say it's Novara Media?
That she says she knows has a pro-Corbyn bias, but they try to hide it.
Maybe it's not Novara Media
then. No.
You're not trying to hide it? Is
no.
it like the Canary or something?
No, I think it is just Novara Media. I just think it absolutely is.
If it's a recent publication, right? Or a recent...
It's absolutely
thing.
Novara Media.
People are thank fuck for Novara Media. They say stuff all the time that annoys me, but there's literally nothing...
Oh, she says what it is. It's Evolve.
Oh, okay.
I don't read anything from them.
Yeah.
It almost seemed really boring.
I thought a purge list didn't sound like Navarro Media.
A website set up in 2016 carrying only pro-Corbyn propaganda. It's just like propaganda is one of those things. It's like identity politics or someone being woke is like increasingly just only ever used as a criticism, right? Yeah. It's like
leftist propaganda is good.
Right, like I think we should make more propaganda to propagandize to people to get them to agree with our ideas that are actually right and correct provably. Like I think that our ideas are still correct, like but propaganda just carries this like dirty word of just like inherently lying and tricking people.
Obviously shouldn't, lie about politicians even if they are leftists because they're also politicians.
Anyway.
And they're answerable to us, but
I'm gonna... okay, I'm gonna skip over most of the stuff about Evolve, but I'm gonna just include this sentence. I suppose I can't expect them to have known this. The author of the blog is a 22-year-old who spends most of her time online talking about Pokemon Go.
You're like, I was having wonderful adventures in my garden playing avant-garde lawn games. But this disgusting cretin on the internet is 22 and she talks about Pokemon Go.
She's probably never had a proper job and can afford to write spurious articles all day because mummy and daddy are paying her bills.
Wow. Nice. She's had so many people, like, she's got so annoyed at people, like, calling her middle class, and now she's just, like, randomly calling leftist journalists, like, living off mummy and daddy.
Within the left, it's a real gotcha, actually. Like, whether you're a liberal, you're a soc dem, you're a communist, like, the thing that's, like, ends the conversation is, like, oh, actually, you have some money. That actually proves that, like, your side of the argument is right and their side of the argument is wrong. Provably. It is just the inverse of the, like, conservative thing that's like, you can't criticize successful business people. Like, the conservative adage that's just like, you can't criticize him because you're poor and he's rich. It's just the inverse of that. On the left side, it's just, if you come from some money, so you can't be speaking for the underdog.
Right-wingers also love to call leftists middle class.
Sure.
It's just that.
True.
We don't know this journalist's, like, background. We just know that she is 22 and talking about Pokemon Go.
I don't even know that she talks about Pokemon Go. I think Jess Philips tweets about Pokemon Go one time. In between.
She writes for Evolve, not The Guardian.
Publishing a horrible comment about her dear IRL friend.
Does she even
in her book instead of tweeting about it, and that's somehow mercy, and praising J.K. Rowling's incredible troll slaying abilities. She's just, casually like, she spends all her time talking about Pokemon Go. I found it incredibly amusing one week to just reply to all the trolls who contact me with a video of Justin Bieber's Love Yourself and the message, my mama don't like you and she likes everyone. Stella Creasy has a great strategy of pretending all the trolls are her mum and responding with sulky teenage-style riposts. Ruth Davidson, leader of the Scottish Conservative Party, is a leader in the field. Cool. Sorry, I just need to... For those who don't get it, any praise at all for anyone who would call themselves a Tory... Yeah. Anyone who would call themselves a Tory is actually a demon. Like, an actual, like, demon sent from hell to earth. And not the cool kind of demon like Catholics believe in, like the guy who, like, tricks you into jacking off. Like, a demon who just, like, loves to see you suffer in the worst ways you can imagine. Not a like, romantic, poetic kind of painful torture, but just the kind of pain that's like Twitter. Just the kind of pain that's just like you just grinding your own brain down on just meaningless, smug drivel for hours and hours until you just die of sadness and not wanting to breathe anymore. That's who anyone who calls themselves a Tory is, and so like any praise for them is just needs to be understood. Needs to be understood. I just think there is a difference where like by turns Republicans and Democrats fuck over people in the Rust Belt, and like occasionally there's just like a Republican who's like helpful to their local area or something. Tories are scum. Like, okay. Ruth Davidson, the leader of the Scottish Conservative Party, is a leader in the field, but the Troll Slayer General is, of course,
I can't handle it.
J.K. Rowling. I know smart-ass comebacks are not for everyone, although I do encourage you to try. Should you face a trolling, it can be incredibly good for the soul. The one thing I find really helps when I am suffering a crap storm of abuse online
just
is
engage
counter
in bad
speech.
faith and they try and annoy me, and they're all so annoying. But then I love to troll them back. I'm so much better than everyone. This is a whole chapter.
If we can't stop the internet grumps, we can use their own tactics to defeat them. Dogpiling with love. We need to form a misogyny counter-speech army. We'll call it Dumbledore's army. No, she doesn't say that. Sending encouraging messages or friendly pictures to anyone who is getting it rough. All the troll-slaying women I have mentioned do this for each other. We roll up our sleeves and wade in with loveliness or funny gags. The women in the PLP... What's the posting liberation? What's the PLP? Oh, I don't know. Anyway, are pretty good at employing this strategy when one of our number is in the firing line. Men are welcome in the squad too, and I'm happy to make up badges or perhaps branded berets.
It's a real posting war.
Sometimes I find something so funny that the laughter like just seizes my throat and I think I'm gonna throw up. I do gag from laughing. Like it's just Okay. For all that I can be chippy about the trolls and can certainly put up a fight, the internet makes me feel as if I'm wading through treacle. Every time I speak about anything feminist, I'm shot down by people calling me fat, common, or stupid. I receive abuse all day, every day, especially on Twitter. Jess, can you imagine if you were also transgender? I'm sorry to just... I don't just mean to, like, shit on the parts where I agree with her or whatever, or I'm just like, yes, that's everyone's experience, so I completely agree. But, can you fucking understand, Jess, that, like, some people go through
like,
that...
Those people, they're just trolls. They're the trolls.
Some people go through that because they're transgender. And then they see you, a cis woman, saying another cis person is not transphobic, and you know because... Blah. Okay, right. We're getting to what I think is the worst bit in the book, right? When I talk to my male colleagues about this stuff, they say they do get it, but never as bad as the women. Before she died, Joe Cox wrote an article.
Look, I'm saying, Jess Philips, these people call me common. Also Jess Philips. This mean person probably hasn't worked a day in their lives.
Right, it's like, how is that better? Okay. Like, accusing someone of privilege to show that they're disingenuous. Like,
right. Literally just, like, inventing a life for them. Like,
yeah,
she didn't
absolutely
give any evidence that was this person. Like, she'd researched this person.
Ugh.
She just seen their Twitter bio.
When I talk to my male colleagues about this stuff, they say that they do get it, but never as bad as but never ever as bad as the women. This is something here.
Let's help him catch up. Neil Coyle is a piece of shit.
We'll get to Neil Coyle. Listen.
He's not in here, is he?
Oh, he's in here. She praises him too.
He makes me so mad.
Look, I just want to bring it back to the trans thing one more time. Because of people who feel that Jess is a TERF. I personally feel that she's fallen for TERF bullshit. Just my personal feeling. Like, that thing about, like, the women get it so much worse. I've been saying over and over again recently that it is like night and day, the difference of my online experience since I came out and started presenting more feminine. Like, it sucks now. Just to the short version, it fucking sucks now. I had someone the other day just tell me that I was going to start doing porn. Just like casually in my Twitter replies, just sort of tell me I was going to start doing porn. It's awful. And I just want to, I've been saying, this is another thing I've been saying, is that, like, trans inclusive feminism can teach you so much. Like, the experiences of people who are already an adult and then have that lens with which to judge, like, entering the world as a woman is a fucking insightful experience. Anyway. But whatever, I think she's just fallen for TERF bullshit, and I'm going to try and get off the TERF thing now and go on with this. Before she died, Joe Cox wrote...
the idea that Jess Philips would get even more shit than Neil Coyle when Neil Coyle is the absolute
Oh no,
worst.
Neil Coyle deserves much, much more shit than Jess Philips. If Neil Coyle wrote a book, I wouldn't even read it. I'm reading her book. I was just going to be like, I'd do a mean thing. And I was like, I just wouldn't read it. That's not true. Before she died, Joe Cox wrote an article in The Guardian with our colleague Neil Coyle about how they had concerns over Jeremy Corbyn's leadership. Joe was horrendously trolled on Twitter by Corbyn supporters, saying things like, "Look in the mirror, Joe, what do you see? I see a traitor looking at me." Were they all in rhyme, or... And Joe Cox and Neil Coyle signed their political death warrants. TikTok scabs. Joe Cox was murdered. She's highlighting these things. Well, we'll get to it. These messages are incredibly chilling, considering that the man who is accused of killing Joe claimed that she was a traitor. Okay. This is the worst part of this fucking book. The person who killed Joe Cox was a neo-Nazi, and he was calling her a race traitor. Calling an MP... I can't even get into this. Holy shit. Calling an MP who is being a gross centrist in a party that is founded to help the working class, calling that MP a traitor is just a thing. Oh god, I can't even do it.
With the context that we now know that they were literally organising to... They were... Not necessarily Jess Philips and Joe Cox and Neil Coyle.
Right.
Neil Coyle.
No,
the
Will, who was it?
Coyle. But many people in the Labour Party literally wanted them to lose that election. They would rather lose.
Yeah, they would rather keep Boris Johnson in. The right wing of the Labour Party were saying this because
it was May at the time.
Right. The right wing of the Labour Party would rather, and we're saying this because they did it according to the report, would rather keep the Conservatives in after over a decade of them ruining people's lives and killing over 100,000 people through austerity.
At that point, it was 100,000 people. It was known.
Then just try having a guy who thinks homelessness is something that we should get rid of and can get rid of. Just trying having that guy in. I think that's a betrayal, and I think the people who did that, again, those people aren't Joe Cox and Neil Coyle, but I think those people are traitors who have betrayed people. Like, I would say the people who organised to make the Labour Party lose that election because they would rather have fascists than communists.
Even sock dams.
Okay, but I'm just saying they would, though. They would literally rather have, if that were the choice. I mean, Boris Johnson also isn't literally like an open fascist, but like would rather have ghoul, soulless demons like the Tories win the election than help Jeremy Corbyn win. I would say that person, this hypothetical person, was a traitor to the 100,000 people that the Tories killed over the previous decade leading up to that point. The 100,000 people who the Tories killed through austerity, the 70 people that they killed at Grenfell, the blah 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 blah, all the people who were alive and still suffering. Those centrist Labour MPs betrayed those people, and I think it's just fair to call them traitors. It's not something I would write, it's not my style, but like, if someone else was like, I'd be like, yeah, you know, I just go around and around on this one, and yeah, that just checks out.
Implicitly comparing people criticizing you on Twitter to being murdered by a neo-Nazi is unthinkably ghoulish. Yes.
The same day, I saw Neil Coyle in the Commons chamber and made a beeline for him, asking if he was okay and whether he too needed any counter-speech support. She means, hug boxing. Like, what? No, love bombing. What is it called?
Both.
I don't know.
Those two, right?
I can't remember the distinction.
Love bombing.
One of them is like the conservative term they accuse, like that millennials had too much like coddling.
Oh, right.
And the other one is the cultish tactic of like blasting support at people so that they always side with you and never consider that criticisms are valid.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it really depends on the circumstances. Like, love bombing can be, like, positive if someone you like is getting harassed and shit.
The point of all this is Neil Coyle didn't receive the harassment that he fucking deserves.
Is he just like...
Yeah, he was like, oh, fine.
Read it.
Alright.
He deserves...
He told me that he'd had 1 or 2 messages, but nothing too bad. It's fucking ridiculous. It's absolutely fucking ridiculous.
So, sometimes I reply to him being spicy on Twitter, and he just like... He's constantly just shitting on his own constituents. Like, he's a piece of shit.
We, Corbyn supporters, voted for him to try and get the Tories
makes me want
out.
To bomb.
The day after the election, and it was clear that Labour had lost catastrophically and Corbyn was going to have to step down as leader, Neil Coyle was tweeting shitting on Corbyn supporters for
wanting a future where they can like imagine living. They earned it.
So there you go. Those are the crucial parts of the chapter.
Emailed
we
Neil
got to
Coyle,
the worst bit.
Because he is our MP.
Mm-hmm.
I emailed him, asking him to support banning the sale of like tear gas and stuff to the US whilst the BLM protests are happening, and not that I'm sure they can fucking make enough tear gas themselves, but but it works as outside pressure anyway, right? And at the end of his reply, which was perfectly okay, he was like standing in support of the protests and against what the American police were doing. He finished off the email saying that the Labour Party could really start tackling racism now that Corbyn was gone.
With Keir Starmer calling Black Lives Matter a moment, and then just like out of hand just dismissing the idea of like reforming the police even. With Keir Starmer being like that.
He responded to the idea of defunding the police very ignorantly, with no curiosity about what people are actually asking for, by just talking about his cred with the police because he was the top prosecutor in the country.
Right.
Also, whilst the 2011 riots were happening, and he made sure to prosecute them disproportionately.
Yep.
So instead of responding even just with some platitudes about institutional racism in the police and how that needs to be tackled, he just went, I love police. The police love me. I'm best buds with the police.
But anyway, now that guy's in, we'll deal with racism.
And then he went to do implicit bias training to teach him how to be, really good on racism.
But now that guy's in, we'll deal with all racism. I mean, to some degree, the party will actually deal with more racism because, again, centrist MPs under Corbyn who are trying to do anything they could to sabotage Corbyn because, once again, soulless ghoul demons like the Tories being in power is better to liberals and to centrists than a guy who would like to end homelessness. They would prefer the ghoul demons, the ghoul goblin
the railway,
demons,
like the Tories just did because of the pandemic, and provide people with free Wi-Fi, which people would have really enjoyed during the pandemic.
Listen. The party will deal with racism a bit better now that Corbyn is gone, because those fucking centrist MPs were deliberately withholding people's complaints to the party about racism to make Corbyn look bad.
To be fair, it was the staff rather than the MPs, but there were clearly MPs on side.
Okay. But my point holds that to some degree, now that Keir Starmer is in, the party will deal with racism more.
Right, since Corbyn was forced to actually put in decent structures for dealing with complaints because they were very poor when he came in. Like they clearly hadn't adjusted to the internet at all existing.
Right.
And now that there are people fucking literally going out of their way to sabotage the complaints process.
I directly think it's down to the Corbyn being the leader of the Labour Party that I was able to cleanly go to the Labour Party website and lodge a complaint for transphobia from a drop-down list against Rosie Duffield. I don't expect that if someone else had been in, that would have been available to me. I saw ableism on the list. I was like, fuck yeah, that's cool. Here's the last bit from this chapter, and then I want to take a little break, come back with some Lego Batman.
Okay.
And Reddit relationship posts.
And wine.
Okay, here we go. We have to do this so that all our voices can be heard, so that she's worked us up into a lather for the end of the chapter, so that the freedom of speech isn't drowned out by faceless avatars, and so that women can speak up in the face of lively debate and challenge and not be silenced into submission.
They're only faceless avatars to you because they're not MPs and they don't have the power and platform you have.
The truth about trolling for me is simple. No matter how many times they call me thick, common, or childish, the truth is I am none of those things and they know it. My voice gets heard and they can't stand it. They hate me because I'm winning. That about does it. We'll go on a little break now and be back with some Reddit relationships posts in 10 minutes probably. Okay.